Now, here's News 5's William Jackson.
Hey, that might be the only YouTube clip we could find of William Jackson, but it matters not, guys. Welcome to the Redzone Report, and you saw some of those emotional moments from Chiefs victories past, and a lot of fans maybe held similar sentiments today, guys, after a very good second half in which the Chiefs completely dominated. We're joined, of course, as always, by Noah Groniger, William Axon Jackson, former KCTV5, and, of course, our good friend Bill Maas. Bill, William, guys, welcome. This was a good one today. The Chiefs, after trailing 13-10 at halftime, had a lot of people ready to jump off a ledge, but William able to right that wrong, and the Chiefs come away with a much-needed victory and a much-needed stamp on this win. Want it going away, and they needed to do that, and they got it done.
No doubt. I think sense of urgency would be the phrase of the day, because they saw this thing slipping away in the first half. You're playing against the Washington football team, and they haven't been stellar all year, but it's a game with the Kansas City Chiefs. Who would have thought that last year or even earlier this year? But that was becoming the reality. Second half, the Chiefs wake up in a great way and pull this thing out. But if you look at them, even early on, they were trying to get it going. 95-yard touchdown scoring drive, longest of the year. So they showed signs early that they could get it done. Defensively, they just couldn't get it. But again, interceptions, Patrick Mahomes with the interception off Tyreek Hill. Do you really give that one to him? The second one you do for sure, but they were able to turn all that around, and in the end they get a win. And I think Chiefs fans start getting that old feeling back once the second half got going and they got it in the rhythm again.
Yeah, that second half was a different story. And Bill, I wanted to ask you about some of the changes on the defense. We saw less Neiman until Hitchens got hurt and had to go out. Then we saw more Neiman. We saw a blown coverage there. But Juan Thornhill starts at safety over Daniel Sorensen. Sorensen still got some snaps there. But what did you see on the defensive side of the ball that you like better than we've seen in previous weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of raise an eyebrow a little bit to think, how come we as fans and people that look back at the All-22s and watch all the things that occur have been calling for Juan Thornhill for some time, and it's taken this long to implement that. I would say the same thing with Mike Dannon too. Every time Mike Dannon is in a game, he makes something happen. I watch him play. I mean, I played the position. I watch him play. He's one of those guys that's been told he can't, you're not good enough all his life, and he won't accept it. And I don't know how you don't play a guy like that more, right? Yeah. Alternating with Okafor, to me right now, I don't understand that. That guy's a force, and he wants to make things happen. There's a big difference between somebody that's out there playing and somebody that wants to make things happen. And to me, Dannon's that guy. So yeah, defensively, those changes were, especially at Juan Thornhill, were overdue. But I think there's a lot of Kansas City Chiefs fans that were with me. I went through a wide variety of emotions watching this game today. Right?
Yes.
I mean, gosh dang. I mean, and then they end the game with over 500 yards, and they gave the ball away 3 times. And with that lopsided win, and that wasn't the story of the first half at all.
Yeah, Bill, kind of looking here, it seems to me like a light bulb of sorts went on there at halftime, and it was easy to pile on with what was going on. You saw the turnover to kind of end the half for the Chiefs, going down 13-10, and I said at the halftime, this just looks like a broken team. Yeah. Nothing's going right. So I didn't really expect that you would see just a light bulb flip on like it did, but it seemed like there was a noticeable effort increase in the second half. Is that what you saw too? What do you think was the difference going into that second half for the Chiefs?
Yeah, so a couple things. I think Pat was embarrassed by that last interception before the half, and he went over and apologized to Andy. You saw him patting himself in the chest. That's on me. It was stupid. I think there's a lot of things that went on. The Chiefs knew they were a better team than Washington going into this game. They knew that, okay? and a halftime probably just pissed them off, and they came out and did what the Chiefs are capable of doing, you know. And Patrick, you know, he got back in rhythm right away. He knew he made a mistake. He's trying to assume too much of the responsibility and put it all on his shoulders. And don't think for 1 second. Let me tell you, you know, you've seen him. He's overthrown guys. He's underthrown guys. He's put them in the dirt in front of them. Don't think for 1 second that Super Bowl front four rush, what they did to him isn't scarring. Okay. We all know about the first round quarterbacks that have been drafted in the top 5 picks that go to crap teams that get destroyed. And they're gone. They're done. They never come back, right? They're done. And because they can't get over the shock factor of what that's like, having that pressure in your face all the time. The Super Bowl did that to them. And they knew they had to fix the offensive line in the offseason. Well, they did. They addressed it, spent some money in it, went out and drafted guys, right? But this year, he just doesn't seem like he's there yet. He's not trusting it yet. He's still running around, throwing off his back foot. I mean, all the things that rattled quarterbacks do. And I think it's showing up, and we've all witnessed it. We've all seen it. And it's something to keep an eye on to see if he can find trust in those guys. I'm going to tell you, I've watched the 3 guys inside, and I like them a lot. I do. I think that, I mean, the future for those 3 in the next 5 years is going to be really something else. The tackle position, obviously, there's some concern. And for him as the quarterback, when you're running all the time and you're throwing on the run and you're getting hit on the run, look, all you're doing is upping the percentage of that one wrong landing with weight coming down on you, and boom, right? So that's my concern when I watch this. When I watch him, he's getting into a pattern where he's not trusting, he's not believing, and he wants to just take off and make Mahomes magic. We're reaping the benefits of it now. You can't bank on that. That's not a savings account, okay? That's a stock option. You do that once in a while. You don't bank on that, man. And I just, when you get into that pattern and think this is going to work all the time, just one weird fall. How many times you see him get hit today out of the pocket while he was throwing?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it was just one time, and then you're like, oh, man. So that's my thoughts on today. Sorry, guys. It's so long.
No, you're good.
It's good, though. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I wanted to ask William, do you think this was more about the Washington football team, especially in that second half, than it was a good football team? Like if the Chiefs are playing the Bills, do they come back and they win that game? They're going to have a better performance all the way through, not just a half of football, if they want to beat these good football teams coming down the stretch here. We got the Cowboys, the Packers, the Chargers again. We're going to have to put it together a full 60 minutes.
You know what? And that's a very good point. I was thinking about that too. You're playing Washington today and you get it going in the second half. But I think this is something they needed, whether it was Washington or anybody in the NFL that gets the check, although they weren't coming in as formidable foes. They needed to get the rhythm back, and they got it in the second half. And Patrick Mahomes started looking more like himself, like Bill alluded to, because the first half, the balls that normally would be caught and we had taken for granted again, we had gotten away from all that. So I think playing Washington the second half, the Chiefs upped their game a little bit. Them being Washington, they were able to get that confidence back. And sometimes, just like in basketball, for a guy, he just needs to see the ball go through the hoop one time, right? And the confidence comes back. I think you can liken that to what happened in the second half here. So Washington, I don't think they were the best opponent in terms of putting up competition, but I think they were the perfect opponent at this point in the season for the Chiefs to right this ship, get back on the right side. And you saw Tyreek Hill catch some balls. You saw Kelsey. Both of those guys were starting to look like their old selves again. And I think all that was attributed to the fact you were playing Washington, as you said. But early on, that's why it was really scary from the go, because Washington was winning this thing at the half. And you're talking about Washington, lowly Washington right now, and they're hanging out with the Chiefs, who have been to 2 consecutive Super Bowls. In what world do we see this? And I think the light definitely went on, and that was one of the situations. But I think it plays into their psyche, talking about Kansas City, to be playing Washington and to right the ship. Let's hope that they can continue to build on this, and as they take on the better teams, they can get the sour taste of the Bills out of their mouth and any taste like that they've experienced thus far, and move forward in a positive way and be the Kansas City Chiefs teams we've grown accustomed to seeing over the past few years.
Yeah. Bill, what do you think that this team's doing right now with Josh Gordon? You know, we were able to see McCole Hardman and Demarcus Robinson, even Byron Pringle contribute today, but you got Tyreek Hill banged up. Travis Kelce's was banged up last week, as was Hill coming in today. His hand looked like he could have had an injury there. Tyreek Hill's kind of in and out, but Josh Gordon's nowhere to be seen. Where does he fit into this? Is this kind of like Le'Veon Bell 2.0, where you sign a guy just to keep him away from everybody else and don't let him contribute? What's the deal with Josh Gordon right now?
You know, that's a great question. When I think that's a question that only the administration knows. Was he even in the huddle at one time? I saw him on one play.
Mm-hmm.
He was out there blocking once at least.
Mm-hmm.
So last week, you know, he was in there 9 or 10 times for plays, and they said they planned on getting him in 20, but they had to go to hurry up offense. Well, Tyreek was banged up, and he wasn't even factored in. So, and Andy had said in his press conference earlier this week that he expected him to get more playing time than his anticipated 20 plays week 1. Now, is that lingo for the opponents? I don't know, but I think that there's certainly something there to look into. Why wasn't this guy on the field? I mean, does he not get the offense? Can he not pick it up? Does he not know the terminology? To me, that there's something there, and I think that has to be looked at, because you bring a guy in, you pick him up, and you say all the great things you say about him, but he doesn't get on the field. With his size and body type and athleticism, I can't figure that out. Instead, you opt to go with Jody Fortson, which great touchdown for him. I hope he's healthy. It looks like an Achilles tendon to me. But Noah Gray, and it's a different team. I'm just telling you, they're a different group when they go double tights. And Blake Bell isn't one of the double tights. Blake Bell will knock your ass off the ball. The other guys are kind of just matchup problems with their size and speed.
Yeah, absolutely. And William, I want to touch on that. We did lose Jody Fortson. The Chiefs came out and announced it is an Achilles injury, so he's likely done for the year. And he was a good weapon for the Chiefs. I mean, he wasn't a crucial. It's not like we lost Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce, but he was something that they didn't have. A taller wide receiver, but they've shifted him. They call him a tight end, but he's a former wide receiver coming out of Division II. He's worked years to get this shot, finally made the roster, and now he goes down with this injury. Let's talk a little bit about kind of what he brought to this team. He had the nice catch today, and then we lose him with that injury, and just kind of what this does to the Chiefs offense moving forward, because they lose that tall receiving option, especially if they're not going to play Josh Gordon down the stretch here.
Yeah, Valdosta State Division II, you hope to get to the league, but even you look at your college career, you say, okay, I didn't go to a big time college. Can I get there? You work hard, you finally get here, and you start to become a person that the Chiefs can depend on. And over the past few weeks, as we've seen, they've gone to him, and now you're hurt. So, you know, he has to be feeling bad right now. But the thing is, I think that he has built the foundation here, right? And that he'll get another chance to come back strong. But again, this is when Josh Gordon has to show up, though. And the thing they talked about early on was the first thing when he got to town, everybody, Patrick Mahomes and everybody marveling at his size and you know, who he is and all that. And as Bill alluded to, when you have a guy coming in with those credentials and that kind of size, and you have a need for him and you don't see him on the field, you wonder what's going on. Well, I think now if he doesn't show up even more moving forward with the injury, then it really is something, because now you have to force feed him or try to get him involved as much as you possibly can, because physically he has the tools to do it. But again, if he can adapt to the offense, if he can catch on. Just you may have to, call some basic plays and get him going if in fact that's the deal. Don't truly know right now, but we know he is a talent who's proven himself in this league before. He was leading the league in receptions in 1 year. So he has the talent, but we just have to see what he can do moving forward. And if ever there was a time that would be ideal to put him in, is right now. We said even more so when they brought him here, but now with the injury today, you have to put him in and see what he can do. Tough injury, but again, in football, as we all know, one play away from that, next man up. It's a old slogan or saying, but it's so true. When you take all the layers away, you have to perform, and I think that's what we're facing right now.
Well, guys, the Chiefs have an interesting history with the Washington football team. Then the Washington Redskins, only one loss ever to Washington, which took place back in 1983 at the hands of our good friend Joe Theismann, who'll be joining us tomorrow. Bill, even dated back to your era, 1992, you beat the defending Super Bowl champs at Arrowhead, and the Chiefs are 10-1-1 all time. So kind of some unique history. You don't play these other divisions much in the NFC over the years, and only one loss in history. It's kind of crazy. But Bill, looking big picture here, the Chargers look very vulnerable today in a loss to the Ravens. We got the Broncos and Raiders playing right now, so someone's going to be there at 3-3 with us. I mean, what are you going to need to see going forward with the Chiefs? Just a game, I guess technically a game and a half out of first place here with the Chargers loss to start thinking about the Chiefs as a team again that can start contending for this division again and can start looking at perhaps being a team that's going to be, one of the ones to beat down the stretch. What are you going to need to see here in these next few games, starting with going to Tennessee?
Yeah, well, I think the number one thing is improvement on defense, right? I mean, you've got 10, 11 weeks to get better, and you've got to try to, regardless of the talent, you have to find ways to get better, and the coaching staff is responsible for that. I saw a lot more pressure and man-to-man coverage from our defense today than I've seen before, given the quarterback situation with Heineke. Understandably so. That's what I would have done the same. Let's get after him and let him figure it out. And let's put our guys in man coverage and see what he can do. And we fared well in most of those situations. The other thing is we also have 11 weeks where, guys, we're relying on Hill and Kelsey way too much. Okay. And this is week 6, and they're both out there struggling, hurt, beat up. They're not spring chickens anymore. Okay. Travis is 30, Hill's getting up there. When you're doing what you do like that all the time, and you're taking all those hits and all that stuff that goes along with it, it takes its toll, man. I'm just telling you, I was there. And I just, so 11 weeks left. How are you going to win games and yet preserve them? And the only thing I can think is more development of Noah Gray, more accountability for D-Rob, okay, for Pringle, for Hardman. These got more account. Like you guys need to become more of the picture, and I think that may have been the emphasis today with Andy. Andy knew they had a better team than Washington, and maybe that's why he didn't play Josh as much. Maybe he's saving that for down the stretch. Maybe he wants to get him a little bit more comfortable in things. And when you come off the streets and run for the first time, we all know it. You're out the door and go jogging. I feel great, man. 2 days later, you don't feel so great, right? So maybe Josh went through a little bit of that, and they're just saying, you know what, get more better understanding of the offense terminology, and we'll rest you. But I got these guys got to be accountable. How many times did you see that threesome set out there? Hardman, Pringle,
Too much.
and D-Rob. No, but they made plays. They made plays, and so I think that's a big thing to keep an eye on is the health of Hill and Kelsey. I mean, you need them. You need them in the big games. You need the other guys to get you through the season.
But Bill, can we count on those guys? We've seen Robinson and Hardman for years. We've seen Pringle. They can't consistently be counted on to show up week in, week out, especially those big games. Can we count on those guys? And is that a Brett Veach problem that he hasn't brought people in here to help support Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce so that we don't have to go to them every single play? So Patrick Mahomes doesn't feel like I've got to go to these two and then check my other options. If there's anything else, I'm probably just going to run, but maybe somebody will be open. There's a chance. Is this a Brett Veach issue and these guys not developing?
No, that's not a Veach issue. That's a coaching issue. And Andy is Andy. Andy's an artist. Andy's parents were artists. His mindset, California, he is be yourself. Show your personality. Do these things. Be accountable. He'll say the right things, but sometimes for a 22, 23-year-old coming from different cultures, different financial backgrounds, different family backgrounds, it's sometimes accountability really doesn't mean anything. And so I came from Marty Schottenheimer, where he'll cut you the next day. He doesn't give a damn, right? So it's different coaching mentality, and they steer them. They point them in the right direction, like a horse. I'll point you to water, but I can't make you drink. And they do that. That's their mentality, and they have a good support system around them, and they bring in veterans that have been through crap before and have overcome it, and know how to talk to the other guys about these things. And so we haven't quite seen it in 17 yet. I think you're starting to see 13 and 11 turn the corner. I do. I think they know, okay, I'm not the starter, but I have a responsibility to this team. And today was a good day for them. It really was. It could be a turning point. Although Hardman laid it on the ground?
Hardman,
yeah. Loaf of bread guy. So although he did lay it on the ground, all three of those guys, I think today we're going to look back at the end of the season and say that Washington game was a turning point for those guys. Mm-hmm. I hope so, anyhow.
Mm-hmm. And maybe for the defense too. I mean, giving up no points in the second half. Obviously, guys, Washington's not going to wow you with what they have at quarterback, running back, or the skill positions. That's a good place though for the Chiefs to start, because a couple weeks ago in Philadelphia, it didn't matter who was out there. Jalen Hurts is throwing the ball around, throwing for 350 yards, and those receivers, were running wild. So this maybe is a start. And William, a play like Tershawn Wharton, a guy from Missouri S&T, gets involved and gets one of the craziest defensive lineman interceptions. Bill, I don't know if you ever had one like that, but that was that was a crazy.
I never had one. Period.
A play like that, I think that maybe, especially for this defense, it just needed something, anything. And maybe Washington was just that team to get sometimes you just need something positive to happen. A play like that in a second half like that, maybe you see that translate into next week at Tennessee, which, guys, I hate to say it, there's going to be weapons and running backs all over the field there, but they're a team that's kind of struggling as well right now, trying to find themselves. So next week, William, important as we go to Tennessee and try to get this to 4-3, because then you got the Giants coming and you could be sitting at 5-3 and this thing's back on track. But you can't put the cart before the horse with this team. My favorite idiom. You can't do it just yet, William.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And as you look, I saw a stat through the last 5 games, the Chiefs had given up the most points in franchise history, right?
Yes.
And if that is indeed the case, then this was very much needed, because you're talking about Derrick Henry and company next week, right? You're talking about pounding. So can you imagine had they gone into this game and dropped the ball on this one? That would not be good for their psyche. It would not be good for Chiefs fans or anything. So to get it headed in the right direction, to get the positive mindset restored so they can kind of go back, hey, we remember what this felt like, right? I think that's important. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And on the defensive side of the ball, to kind of show up like this, that was huge.
I hate to fast forward so much, but Bill, earlier you mentioned the tackles and not being quite ready, not as good as the interior center to guards. What do you think about Orlando Brown? Brett Veach traded a first-round pick. A lot of people aren't super impressed with Orlando Brown at left tackle right now. Do they go ahead and pay him? I know we got to let the season play out, but as of right now, 6 games in, do you think they go ahead and pay him? They back up the Brinks truck for this guy?
Well, I think the important thing is to look at what are your options. Are you going to put Remmers over there? I mean,
Yeah.
seriously,
Nope.
what do you have?
Clint answered.
and who can you go get? I think that's the big thing. I don't think you back up any Brinks truck. I mean, I don't care who his agent is, right? I don't care if it's Tom Cruise. Okay. I mean, I'm going to put it on the tape and I'm going to sit down with you and say, son, here, where are you going? Who's paying you for what? And this is what I'll offer you, unless he improves towards the end of the season. But it is a different offense than he's been in. It's more pass oriented, and they do have a lot more just 5-man protections. I mean, Chiefs are going to want to spread you out. Okay, that's the lineage of the West Coast offense. It's not about the 5 guys up front; it's about the other 6, and it always has been in this offense. They're going to scheme you up. All they're looking at is coverages and how we're going to beat those coverages. That's it. It has nothing to do with the 5 guys up front. Oh, you know what they are? They're speed bumps. Hey, just throw yourself
down a little.
Yeah, just slow them down a little bit, will you? But that's been the nature of that offense for forever. So I don't know what they're going to do with him or how that's going to. But you have to look at your options, and I don't know right now on the horizon unless there's some trades that happen, and we don't have the cap room to do so. So yeah. I'll tell you another thing too. Ben Neiman and the 2 defensive tackles. My gosh, man! I'm glad you had a good day and you had a good win today, but I don't know what's going to happen next week. Ben Neiman, if he gets contacted by a guard or center, he is gone. He's gone. He's back past Tyrone Matthew. He can't get off a block. I mean, it is, man, it's really, as a defensive player that I kind of concentrate on that area there. I look at the mesh of the front 7 and see how it's working. Man, they got a lot of problems right there right now. Bolton is trying. He really is. He's a rookie. For a rookie, you're probably the best product out there. And Willie Gay isn't fixing anything. Okay. And
yeah, we talked about that. It wasn't a 1-player fix for sure. Not Willie Gay.
No. And so, that's an issue. That the front 7 is going to be an issue for some time. And here's the deal too. If you want to criticize Brett Veach on anything or the Chiefs on anything, for the last 4 years, we've talked about how our linebackers suck, right?
Yeah.
For the last 4 years. And, they grabbed Nick this year, but there's no cure there. There's no fix there. There's no you don't have the guy that wants to come up and tackle you at the line of scrimmage. And has the athleticism and speed to drop back into coverage to cover a tight end without scoring a touchdown every time his head gets turned around on a swivel. Okay, so that if you want to criticize on anything,
we've kind of lost Bill here, guys. See if he gets back. We were just about to wrap up, but guys, as if Bill comes back in, I'll just look. Bill, there you go. We got you back.
No, did I lose you?
Yeah, no, we got you back. Okay, we've lost Bill.
Can hear us. Yeah,
you can't hear us, guys. We look forward to next week traveling to Tennessee to take on the Tennessee Titans. Yep, we still got you, Bill.
There you go.
Okay, Bill, you hear us?
Sorry, what happened?
No, we lost. If you can hear us, we still got you. Okay, yeah, go ahead and finish that thought.
Yeah, so I would say that the Brett Veach and the organization thing is not addressing the linebacker situation that I think we've all seen as a glaring weakness for 4 or 5 years. is leading Steve Spagnuolo where he is today. And that's, yeah, and that's this defense.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, guys, next week. Traveling to Tennessee, very excited for that game. We'll know a lot more after next week, guys. Big win today. I know that my Sundays, my weekends, it's been a rough football season. I'm a Mizzou guy. I got to watch Mizzou's defense on Saturdays. I know Bill's at least got the Pitt Panthers having a quiet, sneaky good season there. But man, for me, it's just been rough these last few weeks. You get this, I'm ready to go out and I could actually go rake some leaves or something with a smile on my face, can watch some more football. You know what? These Sundays are a little better when we get a win. Is that not the case?
No doubt. Feels good. Again, right? Sure. Yeah.
Well, guys, we'll be back next week here on the Red Zone Report. Thank you so much to Bill Maas for jumping in as always, and William Jackson. You are the best, my friend. Thanks for joining us from all the way out on Eastern time, my friend. Noah, guys, let's enjoy the week, and we will catch you guys next week right here on the Red Zone Report. Thanks so much.
All right, you guys have
Hey, thanks, guys. Have a good one.